eighth wonder of the world, basically a geek show. And here are your hosts, Mike and Jack.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, episode 49 of Basically a Geek Show. I'm Mike, with me as always is Jack.
Hello, everybody.
And as we were just talking about, apparently, blacks, gays, and Jews can now join the Ku Klux Klan, so what a world we are living in.
Yeah, so all of you out there who, fit into one of those categories and was saying, the Klan is 20% crazier than I can tolerate, now's your chance. So...
Yeah, Ku Klux Klan went through, had themselves a reorg. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, in other news, as reported by top-ranked news source 4chan, MI6 has assassinated Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, that is interesting. Let's talk about this just for a bit, because we did have that World War III episode way back when we first started doing the show when, Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin's been gone for a couple of weeks now. He canceled a bunch of high-profile appointments. And a bunch of tanks have shown up in front of the Kremlin in Moscow.
Actually, they weren't tanks, they were trucks.
Oh. Trucks.
Yeah. Evidently they were 9, semi-trucks, and said, quote-unquote, as many as 3 went inside, based on whatever news source that you linked me earlier. I forget what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've checked, the higher-ranking news sources, BBC Network, CNN, etc., and they are not saying very much about it at all, aside from the fact that no one has seen him since, I believe, March 5th. One of the rumors right now is that he is in Switzerland or Italy for the birth of his illegitimate child with a former Russian gymnast. I have seen a Google image of her, would do again. So, yeah.
There's also been rumors that there's been a coup. Rumor has it that the Russian ambassador to the United Kingdom has been recalled, so all kinds of crazy crap going on in Russia right now. It might be Red Dawn time, I don't know. I just think we should be aware.
Well, hey, why the hell not? We could use something interesting to get our minds off of our own first world problems. So, yeah.
Also, according to 4chan, and again, this is 4chan, so we should probably just take this as the gospel truth. Quote.
Surprise, incoming.
Quote, there is a 100% chance Russia will declare war on the United Kingdom. Announcement by Kremlin is delayed as of now. Was supposed to happen earlier today, but never made an announcement. So, we might be on the verge of World War III. I just think our listeners should be aware that they might be burning a nuclear hellfire as they listen to us rant about trivial crap.
And for our listeners in the United Kingdom, I guess
we have those, by the way.
Yeah, well, I know that. That's why I'm saying that. For you lovely ladies and gentlemen in the United Kingdom, I guess you would want to put on some extra tea.
But you know what? David Cameron will keep you strong. Woo! Anyway. That's about as political as I'm gonna get on that. Let's, move on. They're gonna actually start off with some fan mail, not from anyone in the UK. This is actually from a Canadian fan.
Yes, we have been inundated with emails about this topic.
Actually, Habs fan 1, is asking about, the WWE Network. As many know, WWE Network has perhaps been a whipping boy of ours. But Habs fan 1 has a few questions. Here's what he, has to say. Hi there, just heard one of the podcasts and I have a personal response to your comments on the WWE Network. As an overview, I agree with you that the WWE Network has caused more damage than it has created good. If you look closely, a number of on-air talents and other WWE staff I enjoyed have ceased production because of those financial losses in terms of personnel. For example, Justin Roberts. In terms of other stuff, the biggest loss to me was the monthly WWE magazine. This has been my favorite magazine in print medium, and now it's gone. Another reason, another one of my another reason, on top of many others, to hate the new digital formats even more. But other examples include less props, Bad News Barrett no longer has a podium, no more Blu-rays from WWE Home Video, and fewer WWE events at the Cineplex line of movie theaters. Now for me personally, I won't lie, it's good to have a platform to watch every wrestling show, no longer needing to waste time for searching for stuff online, but I still do not have a laptop, nor do I have a large, gigabyte limit on my phone, so even if I had the network, I could not use it as much as I would like or should. So for me, not only would I have to pay $9.99 a month, or $11.99 in Canada, but you would also need to add another $15 to $20 more, onto my cell phone plan, or invest in a laptop, which is money I do not have at the moment. WWE Network is essentially the old WWE 24/7 Classics on Demand with a new name. I hate how they are shoving it down our throats because their pay-per-view buys depend on it. They say that it is the way of the future, but it's more like the equivalent of Ring of Honor's iPay-per-view level, which seems to be below what they had before, as if they were too crappy for DirecTV. UFC isn't going to lower themselves down to internet feeds, so it makes me question the reality of it. While the concept has its ups, when you combine all of these factors as a whole, all in all, I am more annoyed with the network than I am happy about it. In conclusion, I will not be subscribing to things until things improve somehow. I don't need to get everything that I want, but I don't want to jump on some bandwagon while the announcers keep running rampant. A lot of stuff there. I'm just going to delve in. First of all, I guess I agree with you. Yeah, in general, the product has suffered. He mentioned Justin Roberts. Justin Roberts is another favorite of mine, and Justin Roberts is just one of many, lower card guys in the WWE. He's never going to be a WWE champion, but he was the kind of guy who you could put on the lower end of the card to have a entertaining match for 15 minutes to kill time until you got to the bigger parts of the program. A lot of these guys, Brutus Clay, Justin Roberts, they were basically cut to try to make up for the network bleeding money. And it's a damn shame that the company had to be gutted for that reason. If they insisted on having the network, in my opinion, what they should have done was cut the WWE Films division, because that thing has never made a decent movie in its existence, and as far as I can tell, has actually never made a profit. So, I don't know, just off the top of my head, that's the first thing that came to mind, that if the WWE really wanted to cut down on the losses, they could start by actually cutting the useless parts of their enterprise and not gut the roster. Jack, any thoughts?
Well, now he mentioned the WWE magazine,
yes.
and though the network may have brought about its demise a bit premature than it would have happened otherwise, this is the trend, though. Whether we like it or not, that magazine was probably going to be doomed anyhow eventually.
That is true. Print medium does seem to be on the way out.
And that's something, Mike and I have addressed with regards to video game print media.
I miss video game print media.
Yeah, gone are the days of Nintendo Power and Electronic Gaming Monthly and Game Pro and all this other shit that we used to enjoy reading growing up. And
I'm at a severe lack of bathroom reading material now, just so y'all know.
Exactly. and even now, and this is a little bit off the reservation, but it does apply to print media, which was part of the topic of the email. But the other day when I went into GameStop to get a strategy guide for a game I'd recently purchased, even a year ago when last I'd actually bothered looking at such things, GameStop had 2 or 3 racks in the middle of their floor space that were just devoted to strategy guides. They weren't all just for the newest games. They had some older game stuff there too. And I go in there and I'm looking around and I'm like, what the fuck? They had maybe 2 mini racks up there at the counter where you check out, and they were just for the absolute newest of games, and they only had a couple for those even. So this isn't only just hitting magazines, this is hitting strategy guides, and with regards to the WWE magazine, that probably was going to happen anyways, sooner rather than later. Though, yeah, again, the network may have been the nail in the coffin for that, but chances are that was going to go the way of the dodo anyways, unfortunately. I don't like it any more than you do because as Mike just said, I love bathroom reading material as much as the next bloke, but, that's going away, sadly. About the only thing we can do now is take our Kindles into the potty with us, and unfortunately, I am way too accident prone to do that. I don't like the prospect of dropping electronics into the toilet, and I don't like that society is giving me that ultimatum. Risk covering $200 in electronics and poo water, or do without reading material. Personally, that's a choice I don't want to have to make, and I'm kind of irritated that I'm being asked to, personally. But yeah, and, I'm not going to pretend to know more about the subject than I do. You follow the WWE a lot more than I do. I've basically just given up on television altogether for the most part. But, the WWE brand has been suffering in a lot of ways for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is based on, what we've been covering, what we've been learning about this as we follow this travesty. This network is not helping. It is not having the desired effect either on the WWE's bottom line or on the enjoyment of the fans in general. So, and I did think that contrary to most comments on the internet, that email was very well thought out, and I agree with you, dude.
Indeed. Another thing I want to touch on before we move on. It's the pay-per-view situation. Basically, WWE burnt their bridges with the pay-per-view providers like DirecTV or In Demand, Rogers, those people, because when they sort of announced this WWE Network thing out of the blue, and all of a sudden, all these pay-per-view providers are like, you're doing what now? And WWE was sort of banking on getting millions of subscribers in the network and not having it, not actually having to take a hit. That really hasn't happened. They're taking a hit, and now they're in a situation where they can either continue to suffer their current situation, which is, one, pay-per-view buys are at an all-time low. They're routinely drawing some of the worst pay-per-view numbers that they've ever driven in company history. And with the piss-poor network numbers to make it not worthwhile, or they go crawling back to the pay-per-view companies, and they're not going to do that, because one, Vince is too proud, and two, the pay-per-view companies would have them over a barrel. Problem with this whole situation is that it wasn't a dilemma that WWE needed to force themselves into. Habs Fan 1 mentioned UFC. UFC's not doing this. Why? Because UFC's pay-per-views do gangbusters. WWE made a lot of noise when they launched the network that the pay-per-view model was dying.
For them, yes. But
and
not
exactly
in general.
for them. For WWE pay-per-view numbers had been steadily declining. But pay-per-view wasn't dead as a concept. UFC's numbers continued to do gangbusters. So the problem, Vince, wasn't that you were on pay-per-view. The problem was that your show sucked and people didn't want to pay for your pay-per-views. And now you're in this clusterfuck of a situation where the pay-per-view numbers are horrible, the network numbers aren't what they need to be, nobody's making enough money, and you're gutting the undercard to try to stay above water, and it's just fucking sad. And that's what I have to say about the network. And if you're gonna cut something, cut WWE films, because nobody watches that shit. Alright.
Wait, you don't want to see Triple H play a babysitter again, or whatever the fuck else that was?
I think he did that twice. There were two movies within like a year of each other where Triple H played an ex-con of a Heart of Gold trying to reconnect with his family. It's actually really... I'm actually getting confused thinking back because there were two movies. They had basically the same fucking premise.
You know what? I've taken a few pot shots at Lifetime on the show over the last year, and I'm going to say right now, the WWE film leg of the company is the same fucking thing, but at least Lifetime doesn't expect you to pay for a movie ticket.
Yep. And
God damn it.
on top of all of that, the shilling from the announcers, it's gone to the point now where the announcers are trying to guilt you into into buying the network. They're actually calling you an idiot on screen if you don't have the network.
They're calling you an idiot on screen if you fucking buy the goddamn pay-per-view the way God intended to do.
Exactly. You turn on the TV and you watch a pay-per-view, and it's like for the Royal Rumble. I swear to God, Michael Cole said this to me during the Royal Rumble. If you bought this on pay-per-view, you paid $59.99. If you beat WWE Network's $9.99. And it's like, yeah, it costs me more, but one, your network's shit in Canada, and two, if I have the disposable income to buy the pay-per-view, now I'm gonna do it just out of spite, to spite you people. Even if you are getting more money, in the end, I still know it's costing you, so I still win. And three, it's particularly infuriating because basically Michael Cole, their lead announcer, is getting on air and going, "You're a fucking idiot. You paid money for this? For this piece of shit show?"
I just want to weigh in with the perspective of an outsider looking in on this.
Mm-hmm.
What a surrealistic scenario we are witnessing when I'm sitting here hearing a WWE fan saying, "You know what? I'm going to continue to throw more money at you to spite you."
That's the world we live in. And you want to talk about surreal. The WWE as a company is actually trying to shame me for giving them more money.
Well, you should be shamed. You're paying for this shit.
No, that's what it's come down to. Like, you actually paid money? You actually paid money for this piece of shit show? We're practically giving it away for free.
Because that's all it's worth.
Indeed.
God.
This company can't go fucking under fast enough. The wrong side won the Monday Night Wars. Ted Turner wouldn't have done this to us. He would have done a lot of other things to us, but not this.
Save your Ric Flair money because the WCW is going to rise again? I don't know.
Your Ric Flair money. Ric Flair fun bucks?
Yeah, your Ric Flair fun bucks. Woo! Or something, yeah.
Alright. Well, at least we have Sting versus Triple H to look forward to at WrestleMania. That should be fun. If Triple H doesn't bury him, because that's what Triple H does. Anyway, let's move on. Listeners last week might have been, flummoxed, confused, amused, or angry when we reviewed the first episode of 2001's Robots in Disguise show, and then billed it as reviewing the new episode of Robots in Disguise, which it was, from a certain point of view, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi. And, you know, if it's good enough for Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's good enough for me. But, yesterday, Jack and I, found some screenings of, found a site that was hosting the first 3 episodes of Transformers Robots in Disguise. We watched all 3 episodes. And, actually, we are recording this on, March the 15th. Well, actually, March the 15th, 14th/15th. The show should have aired already. So, again, you know, spoiler warnings, but...
Well, episode 1 will have aired. Will episodes 2 and 3 have aired?
2 will have aired because 1 and 2 were a double header. Okay. It's like a 2-parter.
Will not have aired. Okay. So we're going a week out in advance for you. You're welcome.
Indeed.
And this is the actual R.I. Derp. This
is actual Robots in Disguise. We had our fun last week, but this is serious business.
Serious fucking business.
Well, as serious business as you can get with us being snarky about it. So let's dive right in. Robots in Disguise 2015 episode 1. What did you think?
The story of a young boy and his fleshlight. I mean, what? I don't even know where the fuck that came from.
Well, there is a kid in it, and I want to get to the kid in a bit, but let's start. I did not mean for that to sound as namble as it did. Okay.
Yeah, all right. The show itself, I mean, honestly, going into it, in some ways it surpassed my expectations, and in some ways, which my expectations were, just to be very clear about this, null to non-existent. So when I say surpassed expectations, it meant I sat there and I thought, you know what? This isn't as bad as having my testicles tattooed.
I am not wasting my time.
Right. So, saying it surpassed expectations isn't saying much, but, at times it bordered on actual good. At least the pilot episodes did, but we'll get to that in a moment. In some ways, though, I don't know, maybe I had, like, these notions in mind of the way I thought certain characters would be, and when they weren't, it kind of skewed my perspective on it. For example, I think they kind of got Strong Arm a bit wrong.
How so? How did they get Strong Arm?
I don't know. I mean, you take the name, you take the character aesthetic, and then in my mind I have this, almost like a, kind of a Dirty Harry-esque fembot transformer, kind of a thing. And what you got was Police Academy. Except, no, I apologize to the Police Academy franchise, because some of those were actually good. And I don't know, that kind of, I mean, it didn't make me like the show less, it just felt kind of weird. Bumblebee has taken such a leap in maturity in this show that it seems to also not quite fit him.
But has he really? Because I got the sense that he's sort of faking it.
And maybe the fact that we're having this discussion is a credit to the writers, that there's actually enough ambiguity there for us to debate it. So, I'll offer that out there begrudgingly. But to me, no, it seemed like, it just seemed like too much of a departure. Though, to be fair, in Prime, he didn't say anything. And it was alluded to, in as much as they could give a mute character development, it was alluded to that, he knew a lot of stuff and he had basically willingly passed up promotion and so on and so forth. So maybe it's not that much of a leap. At best you had a rookie in Prime, or at worst you had a rookie in Prime. At best you had, the strong silent type whose experience surpassed the position that he chose to keep holding because he didn't want the mantle of leadership. And so now you're going to R.I. Derp, where he is kind of this typical in over your head rookie character, kind of rookie leadership character kind of a thing. And Optimus Prime showing up, and unfortunately Optimus Prime's first words weren't, "B, you disappoint me."
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking too when he shows up in the reflecting pool.
Yeah, it was like, "Oh, you can do this, I believe
Nail!
in you." Yeah, no, stop making out with your boyfriend. Clean my jowls.
Yeah, it is an interesting take on it. Like, the Strong Arm, I get what they're going for in the character, and I don't dislike it. My only concern is that she's one of those types of characters where if they don't rein it in, she's gonna get really old really quickly.
She got to be old by by the beginning of the second half of the pilot. She'd gotten old with me. It's like, yes, we get it. You're inexperienced and by the book, kind of full of yourself. Blah 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 blah. It was a trope that had already kind of worn thin. Now, granted, this is aimed for probably a younger audience than Mike and I, though Hasbro had said that this was also intended for everyone. Like, it's supposed to be a bit lighter so that the kids can like it, but still have enough plot and all that other stuff to keep the older audience enthralled. That is basically what they said, is it not? Or am I?
It is.
Okay.
They did say that, yes.
So maybe we're not off base on that. And to me, it on the latter portion of that, it didn't quite live up. Underbite annoyed the fuck out of me.
You didn't like Underbite?
No, I did not. I did not. It was a very annoying character. It felt phoned in.
I'll tell you, what really annoyed me about it was the art style. And I don't mean the aesthetics, I don't mean the character designs. I think some of the character designs are kind of neat. But the art style, how the images are actually put to paper, it's got this kind of weird mix of cell animation plus kind of a painted look to it. And it just looks really messy, is the best way I can describe it. Like, it doesn't, the images don't look clear, they don't look crisp, everything just sort of bleeds together in a lot of scenes. It's just kind of gross looking.
To me, I'm not thrilled with the art style. I think I like it a little bit more than you, though. It reminds me of kind of like if they took the art style from Energon and just kind of overhauled it and made it less shit. It's kind of what it reminded me of. It's not I'm judging it in comparison to animated.
Oh, God.
Because that's the most recent benchmark that we have for like a completely non-CGI'd. And granted, elements of this are CGI, but whatever. Compared to animated, this is beautiful. I mean, everyone does not have a fucking Jay Leno chin, so on and so forth. The character aesthetics resemble Prime without directly copying it. So you have that sense of continuity without
Again, the character aesthetics aren't my problem. It's just it's the style, like that kind of painted style that a lot of it has. Right,
I get you. It didn't bother me as bad. At least it Prime a lot of times wasn't colorful enough.
I definitely get that. Yeah, it was very monotone.
And this at least does not have that problem. I didn't mind it. My major worry going into this was that every time someone transformed, you were going to get this fucking
the stock footage.
You know, fucking
the stock footage transformation.
Yeah, the anime style of stock footage TF scene there, and fortunately you did not get that. You basically got it like the first time Sideswipe transformed, and then a couple of abridged versions of that later on, and by that point you really didn't see it again, and that was good. So that was one thing that I was kind of concerned about that ended up being a needless worry. So kudos to them for realizing that no, hey, you know, that shit will get old very quickly. So the art style, once I'd sat there and watched it for a few minutes, it stopped bothering me as much. It might just be a thing where, at least for me, where I have to just kind of get used to it.
So, another character I wanted to bring up. What did you think of Fix-It, the Minicon?
I was just about to say, fuck that little bastard. Damn, was he annoying as fuck. I mean,
he's another one. The big concerns I have for the show going forward are Fix-It and Strong Arm, because they both have character traits that, again, if they're not reined in, are gonna grate on the audience. I understand what they're going for in both cases, and they don't have to drop those character elements. They just have to keep them from running amok. But Fix-It, even more so than Strong Arm, I think really got tiring after he got old quickly.
See, the difference between Fix-It and Strong Arm, and this ties into what you were saying though. With Strong Arm, I can tell based on the third episode, which we'll get to in a few moments. But based on that third episode, they plan on working on her. She is going to. Their intent, at least, is to have her change and evolve over the course of the series. Fix-It, not so much. You can tell by the interactions with that character and the way he is that over time he's basically pretty much going to remain static. He's going to be quote-unquote comic relief, except those few times where they try to give him, you know, some time in the sun where he thinks it's something that saves everybody's asses or some shit like that. Your standard bullshit.
They should have just replaced the character with Wheelie.
I was actually about to say, I'm trying to determine in my mind if he's more or less annoying than Wheelie from G1 Wheelie, not Michael Bay Wheelie. G1
Michael
Wheelie.
Bay Wheelie's kind of awesome.
I wouldn't go that far. I would not go that far, but it's an improvement over G1 Wheelie.
But I just wish it was G1 Wheelie, because if it was G1 Wheelie, then I could have had my Invader Zim analog all nice and tidy.
I don't know. I mean, it's almost to that point anyways, even with Fix-It just being as it is, because even the shit he makes doesn't seem to work.
No.
And granted, in G1, Wheeljack stuff often glitched, whatever, but you knew Wheeljack wasn't an idiot. I mean, he was kind of like Scotty from Star Trek in robot form. Sometimes his shit didn't quite work because that shit was just that complicated, and you didn't understand his genius. And who are you to judge him?
Exactly.
With Fix-It, it's like, so Failbot is fail all the way around. Okay. Wheeljack was at least cool. This piece of shit, god damn it, fucking Fix-It. Fuck Fix-It, man. Piece of shit.
So what did you think of Bumblebee in a leadership role?
Not as bad. Not as bad as I had feared. Due partly to my concern earlier, actually. The byproduct of that is there's been such a departure in what you think of as Bumblebee's personality that he doesn't really act much like Bumblebee anymore.
Well, the thing about Bumblebee was we really weren't sure what this Bumblebee was going to be like, because this is Prime Bumblebee, and as you pointed out, Prime Bumblebee was mute for the majority of his run.
He's seen some things, man, and some stuff.
Although Strong Arm in the show brought up a good point, and I'm hoping we get clarification on this. Bumblebee was one of the people who restored Cybertron with Optimus Prime at the end of Transformers Prime.
So why the fuck is he a beat cop?
Yeah, exactly. Why is he doing the scrub work? So, there's a story there. Does Ultra Magnus just not have any confidence in him whatsoever? Is that why he's doing what he's doing?
Well, I mean, go back to what we were just saying, though. It was stated in Transformers Prime that Bumblebee has, on several occasions, turned down promotions for higher positions. Maybe this was what he was willing to do, what he wanted to do, as opposed to, commanding, I don't know, more stuff.
The thing that makes me think that there's more to it than that is when Strong Arm asks him about it, he kind of sighs, which kind of indicates that there's a story there.
Not necessarily. Maybe that he was just tired. Maybe that he knew if he explained to her what actually happened, that she was going to be like, you have a responsibility to Cybertron, and he didn't want to hear that shit again because he'd already heard it 50,000 fucking times.
That's a good point.
Maybe he wants to be the epitome of wasted potential. I mean, maybe he wants to join the CSA Pacific Fleet. Sorry, guys, inside joke.
Play Hearts of Iron, you'll understand. Okay, so let's talk about Optimus. Optimus, for the first episode, he kind of only appears in ghost form. And he's like, Bumblebee.
Clean out my jowls.
I have tasks for you, Bumblebee. And then, he shows up, Optimus Prime actually shows up to deal with Underbite, which I think is hilarious that they build this whole show on. This show, Optimus Prime isn't around. They have to solve their own problems. And their first crisis can only be solved by Optimus literally resurrecting himself from the dead to fix their problems.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real funny because, it's kind of like a core of the premise of this show. Prime's dead. He ain't around to fix your fuck-ups anymore. And so let's follow the B-stringers around for a bit. Which, again, I've said on previous shows, and I'll reiterate because we only touched on it once. I think that's kind of a good thing because you're not going to get as much vitriol from us G1ers if you're fucking with basically a string of uncared about or new characters. You're not going to run into our hatred with animated where they had Prime be afraid of spiders and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Because you're working a lot largely with basically clean slates at this point.
I don't care if you guys fuck up Sideswipe. I mean,
right, exactly. No one does. Except for those one or two diehard
G1 Sideswipe fans.
Right, and there's probably a couple out there who are just, whatever.
Worst show ever!
Yeah. But, so, there's less room to fuck up there, and I can appreciate that, and I think that's one of the cool things. Mm-hmm. If I had to give the show praise, that's one thing that I would point out. Hey, there's characters there that are clean slates for us for the most part, characters we don't really care about, at least from mine and yours perspective. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be less picky about it because of that. And that's cool. I get that. But with Prime, it's like, he's dead. He can't come back and fix your shit no more. What you going to do when Prime's not here to wipe your ass? Mm-hmm. And then, right when things are the very worst and this big fucking dog, shark, dragon, bot thing.
Underbite, whatever the hell he was.
With
I think they called him a Chompazoid?
Chompazoid, yeah. Who evidently, for some reason, had a Southern Georgian accent. Southern Georgia in the U.S., not in the former Soviet Union. But yes, so, and it's like, what? But, Prime just materializes mid-fucking-air at just the last moment, chucks the fucker off the cliff. All right, I solved that for you.
Yeah, that I mean, it's just hilarious that the first, crisis of the no Prime around show is Prime showing up and being like, Bumblebee, I had to literally resurrect myself from the dead to fix your problems. Why do you suck so much?
He did that.
Yeah,
he asked him, he's like, are you alive, Optimus? I don't know.
And that was weird. Yeah, that's weird. Everyone's like, so are you alive or dead, Optimus? He's like, I don't know.
I mean, we've all had that moment with tequila. But, I mean, And
then it's such a surreal moment because Optimus Prime shows up. Bumblebee's like, are you alive? Prime's like, I don't know. And then Prime goes, the universe has a plan for me. And then he disappears.
Yeah, he's like, you were... He comes in, he proves that he's necessary for anything to get done, and then he turns right around after admitting he has no fucking clue what his corporeal status is. He turns right the fuck around and he says to Bumblebee, you got this, dude, and then he fucking vanishes.
And I'm sorry, but if we're just basing it off of the evidence of the first 2 episodes, which is when this happened, Bumblebee so doesn't have this.
I mean, it's... I get that they feel like they need Prime in there, probably for guys like us, right? Mm-hmm. Because, G1 and all this other stuff. But you and I have proven, I think, we've got the track record established now with both of our listeners, that we're not the most obstinate G1ers out there.
No, I'd put Armada right up there with G1. And that doesn't even have Peter Cullen as Prime.
That's not going to win you any points with most people, though, to be honest
with you.
Well,
most people are wrong and stupid.
But yeah, so, they feel like they have to have Prime in there, probably because of people like us. And let's face it, I know a lot of people are like, I'm glad to see Optimus not being in this one. Those people are a vocal and annoying minority. Mm-hmm. I think. Yeah. I'm not directly opposed to it, depending on how they do it. Like if you're replacing Prime with someone like Ultra Magnus, if voiced by Michael Ironside.
Mm-hmm. Michael Ironside is now the only man allowed to be Ultra Magnus.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'd be down with that. But yeah. So they have Prime in there for these cameo appearances, but that 30 seconds at the end there where Prime was on screen, that 30 seconds made no goddamn sense.
It really didn't, because he appears out of nowhere, solves everyone's problem, doesn't know if he's alive, and then he's like, the universe needs me, Bumblebee. Boop, 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 boop. Gone.
Yeah. After voicing confidence and giving words of encouragement, to Bumblebee, because when he finds himself in times of trouble, Optimus' voice comes to him, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And, alright, fine, but it makes no sense and it defeats the underlying premise of the show.
It does, and okay, this is pretty funny, but to me it was anyway, but Optimus says the line, Rep Heroes goes, Bumblebee, do not doubt yourself. And I've seen this clip 100 times because it was in a lot of the promotional material for the show. Every single time, without fail, and I see it, I'm not even saying this to be snarky, I'm being 100% honest. Every single time he says that, I expect him to say, "Don't disappoint me."
Yeah. Don't cock this up.
I will say I'm interested in seeing it because I'm interested in seeing what else Prime does because they stated in a lot of the press releases for the show that Optimus would be going on a spirit journey to, meet the other, all the other past Primes in like the Cybertronian afterlife. So I want to see that. That'll be cool. I want to see him meet Nova Prime because Nova Prime was kind of a dick, and I think that would be hilarious.
If
also
dick,
Nova
you mean awesome.
Yeah. Well, Nova Prime be all like, "I tried to conquer the universe. What'd you do?" And Optimus be like, "Aw."
I left Bumblebee in charge.
So that'll be. I'm looking forward to that. One more thing before we get to episode 3. The humans. I don't get the point of the humans in this show.
I don't get the point of the humans in any of the shows.
Okay, well there is that, but let's just take Prime, for example, because that was the last show that we had. They at least gave a reason for the humans to be there. They constructed the narrative in such a way that the humans being there made sense. I understood that there were reasons for them. I understood what the humans' characters were. And even in animated, as much crap as I give animated, one of the things I can't fault animated for was finding a reason for the humans to be involved. The humans were integral to the plot of that show. Here, in Robots in Disguise 2015, I don't see the point to the humans. Like, the humans are there because it seems like someone at Hasbro was like, "We need human characters, so let's just have them be there." But nothing about them seems necessary. I mean, it's this kid and his dad who runs a salvage yard, and they just show up out of nowhere. It's like the narrative it's like a cold switch to this kid and his dad at the scrapyard, and I don't understand what they bring to the narrative. I don't understand how they're essential to this narrative. Nothing makes sense about it. It just sort of happens. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but they just seem completely detached from the story. Whereas in past Transformers series, like humans or not, at least there was an effort to integrate them into the narrative.
Right.
Here they just sort of pop up. I don't know. I'm just not feeling the humans this go around. I don't know who's doing the voice work for the dad, but he sounds really stiff when he's delivering his lines. Like, he's kind of delivering them piecemeal.
I didn't really pick that up. I get what you're saying, though, about how they're not really worked in as well as, like, in a way in which they're integral. Mm-hmm. I believe the closest they came to justifying them in the show was them saying, "Oh, well, we've got a junkyard, and you'll kind of fit in here because cars and metal, and you'll be less conspicuous than you would be out in the forest." Mm-hmm. And that was pretty much it.
And also, there's a subplot going on where the kid doesn't really, think much of his dad. And there's the scene where the kid's in the woods alone, and he sees, I guess, like a place where he and his dad carved something into a tree trunk at one point, and it's like, "Rusty and Dad had a hell of a time." And the kid's like, "Yeah, a long time ago." And I'm like, okay, let's pause this fucking thing, because listen, kid, I tuned into this to see the robots punch each other. I'm not here to bear witness to your problems. So whatever show you think you're in, you're not in that show. Okay?
Can we pull this bus off the pretentiousness turnpike? This is not an after-school special. Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever issues you have of your dad, you work that shit off screen.
Yeah, handle that shit off camera, will you, lad?
Because I'm not here to listen to it. I'm here to watch the good robot and the bad robot punch each other as explosions happen.
So what did you think of Grimlock?
I'm actually kind of intrigued by Grimlock because he's a Decepticon in this thing. And it makes sense because all the Decepticons that we've seen so far have an animal theme to him, and Grimlock being a T-Rex, that obviously fits. He's got Decepticon markings on him. But he seems to be, they seem to be doing the whole thing where he's got like a heart of gold and Bumblebee puts him on parole to be part of the team. But they also have the bit where he, like, when Strongarm calls him a criminal, he goes, "I'm not a criminal." So we've got Grimlock, a traditionally an Autobot character. He's acting like an Autobot. He's not acting in an evil manner. He says he's not a criminal. It leads me to think that there's a backstory to Grimlock. Maybe he was framed, maybe he was set up, but I'm definitely intrigued about Grimlock and where they go with him. What about you? What did you think of him?
The one thing that stood out to me about Grimlock
Mm-hmm.
that I could not ignore,
Mm-hmm.
and we mentioned this before,
Mm-hmm.
but when they're choosing their alt modes,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing mentioned about Grimlock not choosing one.
Yeah, no, there isn't. Like, Bumblebee makes a big point of, like, forcing Strongarm to pick an Earth mode. But it's like, oh, Bumblebee, you could just, but Grimlock, you could just be a robotic T-Rex.
Yeah, we need to blend in. We need to be robots in the skies.
Yeah.
And so, then they all choose their alt modes, blah, 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 blah. And, except Grimlock, and he doesn't say shit. He doesn't say, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Bumblebee doesn't say shit like, well, except for you, Grimlock, because blah, 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 blah. Nothing. They ignore it.
And that's gonna be, like, I don't know how much they can do with Grimlock. If they're gonna push this whole design at, like, a disguise aspect of the story, like, you can't be taking Grimlock into heavy populated areas,
Conspicuous. Spot is conspicuous. I don't know. I mean,
It seems to me that Grimlock was there because Grimlock was in the live action movie, and so they're trying to kind of piggyback off that hype. And they're like, well, there was
dinosaurs always test good with focus groups.
Well, they're like, well, there was a Dinobot in the live action film, and a lot of kids saw that, so we need a Dinobot in the next cartoon. But you kind of get the feeling that they came up with the in disguise aspect of the cartoon before the Dinobot thing was imposed on them, and now they're just trying to run with it.
And that's, well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that that's happened. I mean, the Predacons were the same way in Prime.
We already have season 3 planned out. Nah, dragons.
Okay. So it could very well be, they had everything planned out and they're like, Grimlock, what? Oh, fuck it. And that could very well be what happened. Probably is, now that you mention it. That makes at least some sense. Mm-hmm. But there was no attempt in the story whatsoever to justify, this big fucking robotic dinosaur not choosing, a blend-in mode, a disguise mode, whatever you want to call it, while everyone else is being told by Bumblebee, hey, no, you got to do this, so on and so forth. And that really stood out to me. Not if they'd at least made some token attempt to address that, I would have been like, all right, well, it's stupid, but at least they did it, I guess, But they didn't even do that. Like, yeah, fuck you, big robot dinosaur, buy our toys, kids. And it's kind of like, all right, whatever.
They're going. I mean, I don't know. Either he's going to be limited. They're going to be limited in what they can do with Grimlock, or they're going to keep the action away from crowded population centers as much as possible, which I think would be a mistake because it would make the show seem really empty. Like, I think there needs to be a sense of them existing within the world here.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what they did in Prime also. I mean, they always tried to keep the action away from civilians, and Bumblebee mentioned even in the pilot episodes, oh, well, we gotta make sure, Underbite doesn't get to the city, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll probably do that, I guess. I guess we may as well go ahead and get to the third episode, though.
Yeah, okay, so the third episode, this is a big one. This is the first episode of the season of the series proper. We have the pilot out of the way. This is the first go at things after the pilot. And, I think I know where you're gonna come down on this. I think I share your opinion of it in that I was very underwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, it was, okay, the pilot episodes, I came away from those thinking, alright, that wasn't a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't hate that nearly as much as I thought I was going to.
Mm-hmm.
The third episode, I won't say I hated it, but it was boring as fuck.
I mean, I kind of got everything telegraphed. They telegraphed everything. Oh, Strong Arm and Sideswipe are failing the test exercise, so I guess they're going to learn to trust each other by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And, honestly, the more interesting part to me was, the part with, Grimlock and Bumblebee. Fighting the Hammerhead Shark Man.
The Hammerhead, the Sharkticon with the, Australian accent.
Yes, the pirate.
Yeah. If there was anything interesting in this show, that would have been it. Even that really, I mean, it was better of the two things, the two plots that were going on. But that's not really saying much. It was kind of the turd that stunk less. It was still boring, but slightly more interesting because it was like you said, it wasn't quite as telegraphed.
Indeed. And another thing that, I don't know, it just seemed fun. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of interested to see more Bumblebee Grimlock interactions. They just kind of seem like a fun pair to me.
I wouldn't go that far.
I don't know. It just seems like the Strong Arm, Sideswipe combo is going to be a lot of forced conflict. And not even like interesting conflict, just like, I know how this is going to end. They're going to end up respecting each other and yada yada yada.
Yeah, now the Decepticon that they had to deal with.
What was it?
The Wolfbot, whatever the fuck his name was.
Strong, whatever.
That was Silver something.
That wasn't Silver, it was,
like Silver Paw or so? I don't know.
No.
Anyways, there was a Wolf Decepticon, whatever. He was kind of interesting.
He kind of had a very intellectual vibe to him. Like, he seemed like, if we're going into the, kind of like Shockwave, and he kind of seemed like if we were to kind of extrapolate on his past, he probably signed up for the Decepticons, for ideological reasons. Is kind of what I'm getting at. Like, he seemed like a true believer in Megatron's manifesto. That's kind of the vibe I got from him.
I could have been, yeah.
And it's Steeljaw is his name.
Steeljaw. Okay, whatever. Alright, fine. We were both wrong. But yeah, he was kind of interesting. And, you still came away from that not really knowing if he was even telling the truth. When he was saying, look, I just kind of want to be left alone here. But I know you guys are probably going to give me shit. So I'm going to restrain you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You never really found out with that. So that was, evidence to me that this show can at least flirt with sophistication now and then, if it wants to. And that was kind of cool. I don't know. The episode, though, on the whole, I think it's largely because of what you said. Like, immediately from the get-go, you know what the show is going to revolve around, and it's this very worn-out TV trope kind of a thing of the unlikely partnership coming to learn to trust each other, blah, 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 blah,
The
blah.
by-the-book cop and the wild card have to get along! Totally fresh and original.
Right. I mean, someone watched Rush Hour too many times.
Rush Hour, Starsky and Hutch, any buddy cop movie from the 80s.
Yeah. At least Starsky and Hutch was good, though.
But yeah, no. Steeljaw is interesting. I do want to see more of him because I want to find out his backstory. One, I want to know, is he telling the truth about just wanting to be left alone? And two, I kind of want to know his history as a Decepticon, because he kind of seems like someone who would have read Megatron's manifesto and bought into it hook, line, and sinker. He seemed like that kind of persuasive kind of guy.
Now, what I want to know, and this covers, I guess, all 3 episodes and the series in general, where the fuck are the actual Decepticons?
I think these were the Decepticons, sir.
No, I mean, like, the ones who aren't fucking animals.
Oh, so Starscream, Shockwave, those guys?
Right, the real Decepticons. Where the fuck are they?
Well, Megatron, did a face turn.
Well, we know that, right.
Soundwave is dead, I think, or trapped in, like, the other world. But, so he's out of commission. I think that leaves Shockwave and Starscream as the 2, guys left.
Don't they have, like, Viacons, like,
they had
500
Viacons,
of those
yes.
guys? And, cause they're only like $5 and they're legends, so, I mean, just buy a bunch of them.
I'm guessing the Viacons are all either retained or destroyed now that the Autobots have won the war.
And yeah, I mean, Knockout joined the Autobots.
And I can't wait to see Knockout again, cause Knockout was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it needs more Knockout, which they did say that we're going to get the rest of the Prime cast, in season 2, right?
In season 2, they said, yeah, we're gonna catch up on the Prime cast, which presumably means Knockout, so I'm looking forward to Knockout.
Yeah, cause I don't see this show doing very well, with just the cast that it's got. I mean, it's going to be too limited. It's, they're going to be, you could only do so many unlikely buddy cop stories. Before, as it stands right now, it's going to run out of steam pretty quick. So about a season's worth is, I think, all you're really going to get out of this current lineup.
But I'm guessing though that the Viacons are probably all destroyed or in custody, and I don't know where Starscream and Shockwave are, because last I saw them, they were still around, but they were kind of on the run, so I don't know where they're at. But it would be interesting to see, Starscream come back, because Starscream is my favorite Transformers character, and the world needs more Starscream love.
Agreed. So I guess
and we need more Prime Shockwave, because he was basically John Hammond from Jurassic Park.
So I didn't really get into this Shockwave. I really didn't like him very much.
Well, I just loved it when he was explaining the Predacons. It was basically, Mr. DNA is basically all you needed to complete that scene.
Pretty much, and that was kind of funny. Though, okay, bottom line with the series, based on what we've seen so far, what do you think now versus what you thought before we actually watched it?
My expectations were exceeded, but again, like you, I had very low expectations, so I'm not sure what that says. The art style, I'm still not a fan of. Bumblebee as leader didn't annoy me nearly as much as I thought it would, and there are enough hooks in it that make me want to keep watching. I want to see what Prime's spirit journey is like. I want to see what Grimlock's backstory is, and I kind of want to see what Bumblebee's backstory is, because I think they hinted at one. Why is he just a beat cop? There's definitely something there. So there are enough narrative hooks for me to kind of grab at. I'm gonna stick around tentatively. If there's a lot that can go wrong, as you said, there's only so many buddy cop episodes that you can do, so if they kind of overplay the strong arm and sideswipe don't get along bit, if they overplay some of the more tropish aspects of strong arm and Fix-It's characters, it's going to get bogged down really quickly, and I'm going to lose interest. But as of now, having just seen 3 episodes, and another thing I like Steeljaw, so that's another thing. There's just enough there to keep me coming back, and if they can keep me coming back, they're going to have to play on those elements. So, a tentative success is what I'd call it right now.
I would call it My official verdict is less painful than a root canal. Which is very generous, given what I thought going into this.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this is going to be the television equivalent of feline excrement.
I was there for Energon, so it would have had to work to outsuck Energon. So I didn't think it was going to be that bad.
So I pretty much agree with everything you said. It's got enough going for it that I'll keep watching it. Maybe not with bated breath, but it's at least got my curiosity.
And as much as I like Optimus Prime, and as much as I think that the people who were insisting that we needed a series without Optimus Prime were a loud and vocal minority, I will say that if they're going to commit to the Bumblebee as leader dynamic, then let's have him solve some of his own problems. I mean, they got through episode 3 without Optimus Prime coming out of the ether to save their asses. They need to keep that up. Because again, if this is the direction you're going to commit to, let's commit to it. Let's not rely on Optimus Prime. I want Optimus Prime's spirit journey to be, most of what he does from here on out.
I'll agree with you on that. Or at least if they feel the need to bring him out more frequently, at least make sure that when you do it, it's not for throwing some B-list Decepticon over a cliff. Make sure it's for something like, oh my god, they found fucking Shockwave.
Mm-hmm.
Or, some credible, really big threat. And I know they tried to make Underbite that threat. I didn't buy it.
No.
Maybe it is because there was no name recognition there. I don't know. They didn't sell me. Be it either their fault or my fault. I don't know. The fact of the matter is they didn't sell me. Mm-hmm. And they brought in Optimus Prime to deal with it. And it might have been just because it was a pilot episode and they wanted to kind of have that handoff there, that passing of the torch on screen. And if that's the only reason they did it, alright, I get it, fair enough. Because they didn't have him butt in episode 3. So we'll see how often they bring him out there. If they insist on bringing him out every now and then, like I said, at least make it for a credible threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Underbite. I don't think I found him as annoying as you did, but I certainly wasn't blown away. I'm kind of glad that Steeljaw seems to be who they're going to go with as the main antagonist, though. So.
I don't know. I think part of my problem with Steeljaw, and this is an idiosyncrasy of mine. I don't expect anyone else.
You don't like dogs.
Not just that.
Okay.
That really didn't have anything to do with it because you really couldn't even tell what the fuck he was. No, and this is...
No, I think you're talking about Underbite, not Steeljaw. Steeljaw was the Wolfman.
Yeah, no, and I had no issue with Steeljaw. I thought he was kind of cool.
Okay.
Did I say Steeljaw?
Yes, you did.
Okay, Underbite. I'm sorry. My problem with Underbite, and this is a thing that's very idiosyncratic to me just because of my own quirks. Mm-hmm. I have a very technical mind about these kind of things, and I know this is a bad place to bring them.
Mm-hmm.
But when I see a robot flexing muscles,
yeah, that was so stupid.
I kind of just roll my eyes. I'm like, fuck, and I lose 5,000 immersion points.
Yeah,
in the story.
I get you on that. That was such a stupid scene,
and I really had a hard time getting past that. I know it's such a minor thing. I get it, and again, this is my mind, my own idiosyncrasies and eccentricities and quirks coming in here, but I just had a problem with that. And it really, at that point, I was like, okay, this guy's nothing. This is goddamn amateur hour, as you would say. So, that was me with that.
Mm-hmm. I did like the fact that Optimus Prime just kind of threw him off a cliff, though, and then Optimus Prime is like, is this what you were having trouble with, Bumblebee?
Yeah. It would have been nice if they'd actually just had Prime, accidentally bump into him and knock him off the cliff. And he just looks down and says, excuse me. I'm sorry, is your friend okay, B?
Or was that mean Decepticon hurting you?
Yeah. So we
All
have
right.
one other piece of Transformers related stuff to go over this episode.
Masterpiece 25 has been announced, and it is Trax, the foppish blue Corvette bot from G1.
Hey, I always like Trax.
Well, I do too, but he was foppish.
You're foppish.
Okay.
Fucking fop.
What do you think of Masterpiece Trax here, though?
Yeah, I'd like him better if the fucking fops would quit coming and taking our jobs. I mean, what? I'm gonna have to look up fop again, aren't I?
It means a high-strung gentleman.
Oh. Alright, okay, it's almost 1:30 a.m. and I'm drunk, alright? Fuck you. Fucking fop.
All right, but what do
They're
you
all
think
the
of
same.
Masterpiece Trax?
I think it's cool. I like him. Not just because of the toy design. I like the fact that we're not getting more of the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a mold reusing.
Mm-hmm.
They have, all three modes here, and the flying car mode is every bit as lazy as before.
It's important to stay true to the source material.
It really is. The only thing it's missing is Roger Moore, like, behind the driver's seat.
What do you think of the minifigures, Raoul and the Mini Blaster from that one episode where they invade the Decepticon nightclub?
I have a love-hate relationship with that episode.
I love that episode. Fantastic.
Like, I love it because Trax is just cool.
Mm-hmm.
Always liked him, and it was one of the toys I had as a kid. Always loved Trax.
Mm-hmm.
Raoul was just a little fucking chode and annoying to me. I never liked him, even as a kid.
I liked that episode because we got a Blaster Soundwave showdown.
There is that, yes. There is that.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's whatever. It's nice extra little fluff to throw in there.
And I don't know why, I just kind of like the idea that in some alternate Transformers universe, Raoul is just sort of Trax's manservant. Raoul, get me a scone!
Raoul, clean my exhaust pipes. Oh, that sounded really innuendo-ish. I didn't mean... That wasn't the intent.
I don't know why. It's just like... I really do like that episode, so I do like that they homaged it there. Now, I've seen a lot of people claim that in robot mode, at least, Trax seems a bit too lanky and thin.
He does. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I was sitting here, like, right when you were talking about that, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the robot mode, and I'm like, something here seems off, but I can't quite name it, and then you said that, I'm like, yep, that would be it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it might partially be like the pose and the angle of the photograph, though. But in this pose, it looked like he's like thrusting out his metal blue Speedo, and
which could be seen as fitting for Trax.
Well, yes, it could. Okay, but no, I do get where that criticism is coming in. At this point, I'm going to kind of brush it off as saying it's probably just the angle of the photograph. And, because, I mean, in car mode, it's a very faithful translation. Even in the bot mode, the translation is faithful. I like it. I like it well enough. And I think it's really good that this is kind of a departure from the norm. This isn't a recolor or anything like that I'm aware of.
No, it's a fresh mold.
Yeah, because I don't even think Trax had like a mold partner.
No, he didn't. He didn't actually.
So
I think later on they might have like created one, but that was after the fact. In G1, he didn't.
I'm just checking up on something here real quick. I want to take a look at Generation 1 Trax, the toy, and see how this compares. Alright, so basically what you're looking at, G1 Trax in bot mode, the new version is a lot more slender. But I think that's because of advancements in toy design since then, to be honest with you. I don't think it's, because it's an intentional outcome of what's happening. Is just they can do the same thing now with less kibble.
Mm-hmm.
They've had, a lot more experience under their belts now, in 2015 than they did in, 1989 or whenever the fuck this was made. And I think that's really, the gist of it.
What do you think of this compared to the Generations tracks that came out a couple years back? I've just sent you the link there.
Let me take a quick look at that. I don't know. I mean, I like the Masterpiece a lot better, to be honest with you.
Well, the Masterpiece one is more of a faithful G1 interpretation, whereas the Generations is doing that thing Generations does, where it's like, let's do a modern reimagining.
Right. The Generations tracks isn't bad. I don't dislike it. And if I actually, caught it at Walmart amidst the leftover movie lockdowns, I would probably, consider picking him up. If for no other reason than the fact that he was not movie lockdown, just so that I could remember that day in history. But I don't dislike it. I like it well enough.
The reason I bring it up is because it seems as if the Generations and the Masterpiece kind of went in two different directions, because the Generations tracks, I wouldn't say the Generations tracks is fat, but he's definitely squatter and wider.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. And that, again though, that appearance is kind of widened out by that back kibble.
Mm-hmm.
And, let me take a look here. Yeah, and on this, he still has that back kibble going on, even on the Masterpiece. I think this is a question of perspective in that photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you could see him front on, I think it would be a bit different.
Indeed. And again, these are still early pictures, so I don't think we'll be able to make a final judgment until we get some in-hand pictures.
And there is a very distinct possibility that this could be a slight mistransformation somehow.
Yeah, that is possible. That definitely is possible. I know that kind of thing is less likely in Japan, but it still happens. Just get a photographer who has no idea. So some of the mistransformation pictures are actually quite hilarious. But yeah, I like Masterpiece tracks. I would be getting him if I were collecting masterpieces, but I like money, so I don't.
I like being able to eat.
Exactly. So Generations will just have to do for me. But, if I were a hypothetical Masterpiece collector, I would be all over this. Especially because they're giving me a Raoul minifigure.
Yeah,
for me to act out my slash fiction.
And on that note, that has been episode 49 of Basically a Geek Show.
Oh man, you can catch us on all of our platforms, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, at basicallyasportshow.com, catch us on Twitter at a Geek Show, email us at basicallyageekshow@gmail.com. For Jack, this is Mike signing off.
Take America back from the fops.